Um, We'll now go to questions, and I will begin with Supervisor Munzer. Um, on the point you just raised, a 1 in 500,000 excess cancer deaths, the EPA and BLM risk criteria has to be less than 1 in 10,000 in excess cancer deaths to support a public health risk worthy of closure. So
So the risk
to
is
me,
50.
the health risk is 50 times lower than any limits required by the BLM. Is that
Right.
correct? Why in the world would they order the closure of this public land to the public for a very popular recreational purpose?
I do not know.
Well, let's ask the Bureau that same question.
We relied on the EPA experts to determine that there was an excess risk from the airborne asbestos. And given the results of the study that EPA concluded in 2008, as well as the results of a very extensive public process that the BLM concluded in 2014 with the RMP for the CCMA, that led the BLM to restrict certain activities and place a time restriction on those activities.
But by your own calculations, the risk is 50 times lower than any limits required by the BLM.
Again, we relied on the EPA experts on human health to advise us concerning the human health risk and elevated cancer risk over the lifetime for exposure.
This is absolutely absurd. Do you realize how infuriating it is to the public to have these kind of restrictions placed on it by people who tell us they're protecting us? I think I speak for the vast majority of the public, and I say we're happy to listen to your advice. Well, we damned if we were going to take your orders on matters such as public access to the public lands. We'll make those decisions for ourselves, thank you very much.
The decisions that the BLM made took into account not only public health and safety, but also employee health and safety.
Let me ask you this question. State of California, which is hardly an environmental scofflaw, they have the most rigid environmental regulations in the country. They looked at that and said this is absurd. Now, why is it that their calculations are so different from yours?
My understanding
And by the way, and while we're on that point, you mentioned this comes from serpentine rock. You are aware that serpentine rock is ubiquitous throughout the Sierra Nevada and other mountain formations in California. It's all over. Are you suggesting we ban people from the state of California because this occurs naturally in the rock formations?
the reason for the restriction was on those activities that cause, that produce the airborne asbestos, those that create dust, and that is what the EPA specifically tested by having ATV riders and motorcycle
I used to go
riders.
hiking through the Sierra constantly. That creates an enormous amount of dust. Are you suggesting we should ban people from hiking, and while we're at it, backpacking, equestrian riding, bicycling through? Is there no end to all of the protections you would inflict on us? Perhaps that's a rhetorical question.